Well, hey there, and welcome back to Heimler's History. Now, we've been going through Unit 5 of the AP U.S. History curriculum, and we've been tracing the growing tension in the United States concerning the question of slavery. In the last video, we talked about the failure of compromise on that issue, and how even with all the failure, disunion was not yet a foregone conclusion. Well, in this video, we're about to talk about the election of 1860, which is the event that precipitated secession and the Civil War. So, if you're ready to get them brain cows milked, I stand at the ready. Let's get to it. So, the basic question we're trying to answer in this video is as follows. What were the effects of the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860? So as I mentioned in the last video, the newly formed Republican Party did pretty well in the midterm congressional elections, and that made the opposing Southern Democrats pretty twitchy about the presidential election of 1860. And so for this election, Democrats nominated Stephen Douglas of Kansas-Nebraska Act fame as their candidate, and the Republicans nominated Abraham Lincoln, who ran on a free soil platform. Now, in case you don't remember, the free soil movement sought to keep slavery from expanding into any newly acquired territories, and it's going to be important for you to know that this platform was concerned with curtailing the spread of slavery, not the abolition of slavery where it already existed. Now, there were certainly some abolitionist Republicans who did want to abolish slavery in the South, but that was not the official platform, nor was it Lincoln's stated goal. Like, he was pretty emphatic in his debates with Stephen Douglas that he had no intention of abolishing slavery where it already existed. So, if he were elected, the Southerners could breathe easy. Okay, so that's the basic outline of the presidential contest of that year, but here's where I tell you that it's a little more complicated than that. The Democratic Party was actually divided between a northern faction and a southern faction. There's actually a third faction too, but let's not get too complicated. The point is, the party was not unified going into the election of 1860, so the northern faction of Democrats, represented by Douglas, wanted the slavery question answered by popular sovereignty, which, by way of review, means that people living in the territory can decide for themselves whether to allow slavery. The southern faction of the Democrats, represented by John Breckinridge, wanted slavery in the new territories protected by a federal slave code, and once they became states, then they could decide by popular sovereignty. And if you're listening closely, the rival positions in the Democratic Party are pretty similar. But as we've seen before in our study of American history, when a party is divided like this and puts forward rival candidates, they are unlikely to win. When it came time to vote, here's how things shook out. Lincoln won 40% of the popular vote, but carried the electoral vote. And just look at this electoral map. Like, let this sink in for a moment. Lincoln won the presidency without a single electoral vote from the southern states, and that was an ominous sign for the Southerners. Now remember, Lincoln was clear that he wouldn't mess with slavery where it already existed, but that didn't matter to the citizens in the southern states. All they could see was, as a result of this election, if they deployed all their political power in a high-stakes decision like this election, they still didn't have enough power to prevail, and that was deeply threatening to them. Sure, Lincoln promised not to abolish slavery, but he did promise that the expansion of slavery was effectively over. And how long could the South endure the growing political dominance of the North, who, according to the recent events of John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry, only wanted to destroy them? And so the Southern answer to that question was plain. Like, how much longer can we survive in this union? No longer. And so in December of 1860, even before Lincoln was inaugurated, South Carolina seceded from the Union, and within 6 weeks, 6 more states had followed the cascade of secession, including Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Later, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina all seceded as well, and together these states became the Confederate States of America. The new Confederacy created a constitution which was similar in form and language to the United States Constitution, but with severely limited federal power and, more to the point, provisions that enshrined slavery as a perpetual institution, never to be abolished. Now, the secession, of course, would cause the American Civil War, and we'll get to that in the next few videos, but for now it'll be important to ask and answer a perennial question of the study of the secession crisis, namely, for what reason did the southern states secede? Now, when you ask this question today, you'll hear basically two competing answers. One group says that the South seceded to protect slavery. The other group says that the South seceded on the grounds of states' rights. And the thing is, the answer to this question is actually not a mystery, and we're going to allow the Confederate States themselves to answer this question for us. So when the secession question arose, each state that would later make up the Confederacy held secession conferences. And as a result of these conferences, each state drafted articles of secession that explained their reason for leaving the Union. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to give you a taste, and I think this will answer the question pretty clearly, not with 21st century speculation, but with the declarations that they themselves themselves penned. Let's start with Texas, whose reasoning went like this. With the election of Lincoln, they argued the country had become controlled by a, quote, great sectional party, proclaiming the debasing doctrine of the equality of all men, irrespective of race and color, a doctrine at war with nature, in opposition to the experience of mankind and in violation to the plainest revelations of divine law. They went on to charge the Republicans with the nefarious agenda of the abolition of Negro slavery and the recognition of political equality between the white and Negro races. Or how about South Carolina? Like, if you wanted a real contender for the states' rights argument, then South Carolina's Articles of Secession is a very complex argument about the violation of their constitutional rights. However, those arguments are focused like a laser on the Northern sympathies with anti-slavery principles and the oppressive designs of the newly ascendant Republican Party. South Carolina's charge against the Republicans was that, quote, this party will take possession of the government, the South shall be excluded from the common territory, and a war must be waged against slavery until it shall cease throughout the United States. All right, let's move on to Mississippi, where the cause of secession could not be plainer. In their Articles of Secession, they said, quote, our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. Now, as with everything, we could complicate this argument endlessly. The first and only president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, said precisely nothing about slavery in his inauguration speech when he cast a vision for the founding principles of the Confederacy. But his vice president, Alexander Stephens, gave his famous cornerstone speech just a month later, in which he argued in no uncertain terms that the foundation of the Confederacy lay in the triumph of the white race over the black race, and that such a triumph would always be perpetuated in the everlasting institution of slavery. But all the complication aside, if you look at the words spoken by the states themselves, and then you ask, why did you secede from the Union? Their own answer is plain. Slavery must be protected, world without end. All right, thanks for watching. There are more videos in Unit 5 right here, so if you need to keep studying, give them a click and keep on going. If you want help getting an A in your class and a 5 on your exam in May, then click right here, grab a review packet. And finally, if you want me to keep making these videos for you, then let me know by subscribing. Heimler out.